doing a mic check. Let me know in the comments, how does the mic sound? Is it too loud, too low? Let me know. We're starting in 60 seconds. Hello and welcome to the My Amazon Guy weekly Q&A, where I come in and answer any Amazon question. I try and be your walking Amazon encyclopedia, your Wikipedia of all Amazon information. I do my best. Usually get stumped here and there, and we go to the audience. It's every so often we'll get a good one where we'll get some support from you guys. So don't hesitate if you know the answer to something and you want to answer and throw in your own 2 cents in the comment section. Your feedback is quite welcome. My name is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. And as a heads up, our website is offline for the next couple hours doing some maintenance. I'm going to start on Pete's questions. I thought Pete answered a really good series of questions here. And then we'll go to our normal, we do prioritize member questions. If you want to become a member of the channel, hit that join button by just going to youtube.com/myamazonguy and hit join. We appreciate that support. If you subscribe as a joiner, you buy me a Mexican Coke. I got to figure out which hand on my green screen behind me here. And if you stay around for a couple months, you buy me a Chipotle burrito, and we give you an emoji that shows that. All right. So Pete asks, what is your top advice for a beginner seller in choosing products to sell? And my answer to you, Pete, is stick to something you know. So for example, if I was a competitive chess player growing up, I played in the US Open. I played some really big money games where, big money's on the line at the highest levels. And if I was going to sell chess sets, I would have a major advantage. I would know that triple weighted pieces are the coolest thing, and roll up boards with green is the top seller. I would know all of these things because I was part of that chess selling community. And so a lot of people, they'll go to Helium 10, they'll go to Jungle Scout, or they'll go to another product research tool of their choice, and they'll start there to start coming up with product ideas. And my feedback to you is, you should start with what you know and start typing into those data systems products that you personally understand and can scale based on your own community building practices and understanding. Then use the tool to justify your choice. And then, of course, after that, you have to figure out how to source it. And that's a totally different topic. But there's a lot of things that go in. And by the way, this feedback that we're talking about here is true regardless if you're a new seller or an experienced one. January is the best time to come up and work on your sourcing new items for next year. It's the #1 month for product research during the year, in my opinion. Now, China does shut down during February, so there's a lot of delays and shipping and all that. So if you don't have a warehouse delivery in the works by now, you probably won't get one out before Valentine's Day, from my own experiences. But Pete, that's a great question. You had a couple other good ones. If you had to do Amazon FBA all over again as a beginner, what would you do? I would definitely not sell supplements, technology products, and I might likely avoid beauty as well. And that's because those are harder niches to break into. It does take a lot of money, especially advertising, to break into those niches. But the reason a lot of people like selling in supplements is the higher margins available on some of those pills. And quite frankly, like a vitamin C and a zinc supplement, like I'm taking this every day right now because I'm coming out of some major sicknesses. It's been brutal. And we know that zinc and vitamins and all those good things help with fighting that. And by the way, today is like literally the first day I'm back in the office fully in over 2 weeks. So it's been a very brutal recovery. So I would, going back to your question here, what goals would I set for the first 6 to 12 months of a beginning seller? I would side hustle selling on Amazon. I would not make Amazon full time for a full 12 months. And one of the cool things, by the way, at my Amazon guys, we like to hire people who are working on their own Amazon accounts. So if you want to become a potential applicant to throw your resume in to work at My Amazon Guy, email your resume over to jobs@myamazonguy.com. We're always hiring. And the reason we're always hiring is because we're trying to get to it's a $50 million company in under 9 years. That's my goal. It's so public of a goal I'm telling you here. And so to do that, I have to build the best talent pool in the world at my agency. And there's a lot of things. So we're always hiring. We're always looking for competence based hiring. So people that really know their Amazon stuff. But anyway, so what I would do is side hustle on Amazon. And that's why I made a plug for working at MAG, because if you want to side hustle your Amazon account while working at My Amazon Guy, you totally can. So that's the most important thing I would do. You will not be profitable in your first 6 months. So do not invest in selling on Amazon if you don't have a good $3,000 to $5,000. You could literally just throw out the window right now and never see it again and not lose your t-shirt, not lose your rent, all that good stuff. Do I need a trademark and brand registry before launching my first product? I would 100%. This is a must have, because if you don't, you have a high risk of hijackers. You won't get A+ content. There's so many reasons why this is so critical. But what I would do, Pete, especially, is make sure that you trademark a brand name that is generic and not descriptive. And so the reason why I say this is because if you have a generic brand name that you could sell literally any category item under, you're better off with your first brand name choice. Now, of course, if you want to sell a line that is dedicated to just moms, like my Momster line, my wine glass brand, but I can't exactly put my beer glass brand under that and expect people to think that's cool, right? Like, so you got to think about how your brand name will associate to additional products that you expand into. So that's the most important thing. But yes, must have. Is my company part of IP Accelerator program? It's not. IP Accelerator program has not been required to get a fast trademark and brand registered on Amazon for over 12 months. We were one of the first to market to explain this concept. We have over 12 videos where we talk about trademarks and brand registry. Pete, hope you decide to use My Amazon Guy. We give you a serial number in under 1 business day. There is no other service in the entire market that can pull that off. And it's because we're business guys. We figured it out. And by the way, for those that already have your brand registered, don't forget, opening up a second brand name going into the next year. Hey, you got that new product line. You want to launch a new brand that's not on brand for you currently. And you're going to separate it out. Maybe one's for women, one's for men, like that example. This is a great time to file a new trademark. Our website is offline, but if you guys want to check back in a couple hours, go to myamazonguy.com. You can purchase a trademark for $825, 1 business day turnaround, and you'll have brand registry in under 7 days. We've done this for more than 500 people in this last year alone. So, Pete, I spent a lot of time with your questions because I thought they were fantastic to start the podcast on. Screen is blank, Steve. What is that? Well, hopefully. Not sure. Anybody else experiencing a blank screen? You should be able to see me okay here. We did a mic check. That came through okay. Nobody else talking about a blank screen, so I think I'm okay here. All right, so I'm going to go to the top of the queue here. We did get a nice little donation from Cool Peeps. Thank you. Appreciate it. One of our super fans. We'll go to Cool Peeps questions first because of that. So happy Stephen Brainiac Friday. Hope you feel better. Thank you very much. It's been a brutal recovery. Who do you use for your YouTube thumbnails? They are on fire. So I initially hired customthumbnails.com. Super expensive service, absolutely worth the money. And then I ended up starting to test my own internal design team. And we have an internal designer that just does fantastic with them. So we'll have multiple designers kind of do a thumbnail here and there. But some of my favorites have been the praying to Jeff Bezos one. The Rockstar Steven thumbnail, that was another good one. Me looking like Mr. Burns. We recycled that one. I like that one so much. Those are probably my favorite thumbnails of all time. Do you have a recommendation for an app that tracks real-time FBA profits, accounting for real-time PPC costs, COGS, etc.? So you all should have Helium 10. If you don't, I'll give you a discount code for 50% off. Helium 10 does have some profit tracking. I would not say that they are the best on the market for profit tracking specifically, but if you do have Helium already and you just haven't enabled that feature, I highly recommend it. And then Seller Legend, Profitero, there's a bunch of different profit tracking tools. And by the way, if you guys want to put your own favorite in the chat, feel free. I just get around and use Helium 10 myself because I don't need a 100% play-by-play full-on tool for it, but it is good enough to get like a full-on accounting. So I do recommend that. For FBA, would Amazon ever pick and scan an item with an FNSKU label that doesn't belong to the bin? Yes, they would. Meaning, if my 3PL ships in the wrong item, makes its way to the bin, will Amazon pickers reject the item because the FNSKU label is wrong? So what happens, cool peeps, is they most of the time will check it in wrong, unfortunately. And what you can do is you can ask them to do a bin located audit. This is not going to be 100% successful, but generally is well received by Amazon's FBA team. And just to simply give them in that ticket and say, hey, we sent ASIN A and we meant to send ASIN B. Please switch them to the correct locations. Unfortunately, the FNSKU labels are insufficient for this, not good enough to be able to prevent this bad check-in. Thanks for becoming a member, 10 Zing. Welcome to the channel. I really appreciate that. If you have a question in queue, I'm going to see if I can find it. I don't see one yet, so feel free to add one in. We'll get to you as early as we can for becoming a new member today. And let's go to Old Hickory next. My Amazon guy, Steven, what are your best practices for using Amazon posts? What results have you seen? Amazon posts are basically free Instagram posts for Amazon. And so I highly encourage you guys to use them. We post them for all of our clients. I recommend a post every 2 or 3 days. So, 3 posts a week on average would be about right. And these posts primarily show up on mobile phones on your competitors' listings. And so you have the ability to get exposure at basically no cost. It's like free ads. A lot of people theorized that Amazon was going to start charging for social posts. I don't think they will, but definitely take advantage of them. And that's definitely a program everybody should be doing because the minimal amount of effort, it's a great VA task, great agency task to do. In terms of best practices, generally speaking, I think lifestyle photos are the best. So if you can show product and use shots, I think that's the best way. But if you're short on photos, just grab your cell phone and just, let's say I want to do a social post today for This Is the Way. Literally just grab a social cell phone here and make a social post yourself, just drinking from it and call that a day. That's good enough for a social post. So I highly recommend it. Best practice for using Amazon Live. So I personally, because they only use Apple products for Amazon Live, have not made this part of my repertoire. I'm an Android guy, and something rubs me the wrong way that I just can't pick up an iPhone on the side to do an Amazon Live. It's app based within the Apple ecosystem. Do I recommend it though? Absolutely. It's free. It's even better than Amazon social posts and has a lot of benefits behind it. So I highly recommend it. Kyle, thank you for the $5 donation. Really appreciate it. We'll see if we can find your question here in the queue and go to you next. I don't see one quite yet, so I'll scroll back down in a minute and look for you. Steve says, happy Friday. How do you forecast sales for new brands that sign up with my Amazon guy? So in short, we generally avoid doing this. We like to just be an agency that says, come to us. We don't promise results. We don't guarantee anything. We just deliver. Now, honest truth, 7 out of 10 brands that work with us absolutely grow. 3 out of 10 do not. And it's not because of our services. It's generally because the product is a miss. And so we know that generally speaking, Strike Zone client will come to us. They've got something up and running, and they just need to take it to the next level. We do all the time launch new brands from scratch, and it's impossible to put together a real forecast. Any forecast we put together, we could look at the month-to-month like seasonality of a product that does well during the summer versus the winter months, extrapolate a generic percentage choice, maybe do like conservative, routine, actual, and aggressive forecasts. We can put those together, but I'm really not a fan of forecasting sales. And that's because there's just so many variables that come into play when selling on Amazon. There's challenges with logistics, especially right now. There's challenges with advertising, competitors, reviews. All of these things are impossible to forecast correctly. Now, if you have a great product, you're going to succeed regardless of everything else. And that's really where we hang our hat, is trying to find products that we know we can move the needle on. We happen to be one of the best agencies in certain categories, just purely based on experience. There is not a better supplements agency out there, just because we've taken on the hardest supplements products and succeeded with them. But even still, we can't succeed every time. All right. So Kyle, thanks again for that $5 donation. We'll go to you next year. USA DOM FBM ship. I pay $10 to $25 to ship FBM. No choice on my end. Customer picked free standard shipping. Does this have to do with the new shipping setting, automation by Amazon? So I have to take some time to unpack this one, because it's not an obvious answer here. And what I would say is there is a necessity to offer a free economy shipping option, but it can ship 5 to 7 days out. And you do have to have that enabled. But if you want to customize your shipping so that like a standard 3 to 5 day ship has a fee behind it, or a 2 to 3 day shipping template, completely possible. I'll share my screen here and walk you through how I've done it in my own account. So I have different rules for Age of Sage. They migrated the template at one point, and that's like your default one. But like, I personally don't charge shipping for 3 to 5 day. But if somebody really wants something super fast, absolutely going to charge $8 to 2 day that over, because that's, really costly to do as a shipping. But you can create different custom templates, and then your inventory page, you can assign them manually however you want. Let's demonstrate that. So let's just go to one of my random products here. This is my Hakuna Mascata, which is a play on the Lion King, Hakuna Matata. This item, by the way, banned from advertising because it has the word drink on it. Oh, Amazon banning so many of my wine glasses from advertising. Super annoying. Anyway, so if you're in here, you can see what shipping template you want to use. You can simply just change it right here manually and hit save. And so if you have different brands, maybe you got a drop ship partner you use for one of them. I used to use a drop ship partner, and I'd have different shipping settings depending on that. But you can select those shipping templates and decide how you want them set up. You can charge different rates based on the speed, but you cannot change the rate based on the location. You can, however, put in a location-based setting for a certain time. So, for example, I know it's faster for us to ship in Georgia, so we can charge the same rate on standard shipping, but we can offer it at a much faster time delivery. So there are a lot of customizations to do that. Definitely check all those out and whatnot. All right. So somebody asked in the chat, do we help brands with generating reviews? We really don't these days. And that's because review generation has never been harder. We focus basically on growing traffic and conversion rates. Those are the two areas we focus. So anything like SEO and PPC, that's all your traffic generation. And then second, design, copywriting, catalog troubleshooting, listing reinstatements, or just simple basic changes to the catalog. Those are the things that my Amazon guy is a master 10 out of 10 at. All right, new chapter says, hi, Steven. I just launched 2 gift sets without any reviews 4 days ago in the pamper gift category in Amazon UK. I'm doing PPC, but the budget lasting me until midday. 1 manual, 1 automatic campaign. So I would definitely set up about 5 or 6 more campaigns manually, segment the heck out of them, isolate 2 or 3 top keywords. For example, when I launched my Age of Sage Mother's Day kit, I generated $144,000 in 3 weeks with 1 single product review. That's this item right here. And we did a bunch of A/B testing on the main photos, did a bunch of advertising testing. A lot of different things went into it to figure out how to make this work. But long story short, if you launch an item that has a seasonal bump during a certain time period, and by the way, we have this on sale right now. Anybody want to pick up a last minute gift for their mom? $40. We've been selling this at $50 all year long. I have a few extra 100 of these hanging around right now, and I'm trying to move them. So we're down to $40. If you want to purchase that today, I just posted the link in the chat. Get that on discount. It's a really nice kit. We're actually not making any money at $40, believe it or not. The tumbler just really costs a lot. We actually pour the lotion and cut the soaps ourselves in our own South Carolina manufacturing plant ourselves. Anyway, so you talked about only doing about 5 or 6 sales a day, automatic campaign lasting all day. Would you advise to increase the budget for both or wait for the reviews first? If you aren't advertising at max capacity with a new item, what is this, 8 days before Christmas, you're crazy. You should be like trying to stock your item out. So if you got like 1,000 of these in stock right now, you should be max spending, because there's never a better time, especially since you are in the pamper category. This is a gift item. It should be moving off the shelves. And so, like, I don't know if you guys have looked at your conversion rates on Seller Central, but they should be at an all-time high, especially if you have a gift category right now. And I was looking at my stats earlier today, and it sometimes takes a minute to figure out like where the conversion rate is tracked. I always forget like where in the drop downs to go. So like right now off screen, I'm like poking around trying to find where I found that. But in any case, you can track your conversion rate. So my conversion rate today is 52%, which is insane. That's a really high conversion rate, and it's more than 2x up what it was 60 days ago. So that means one out of two people coming to my listing is making a purchase. And so you really ought to have max ad spend coming right now as an opportunity. Well, I couldn't actually find the conversion rate drop down fast enough, but I did find the product opportunities tab. We did a video on this a couple weeks ago. And if you guys haven't seen the product opportunities tab, especially as we're going into January here, never a better time to look for product opportunities. Now, I do think you still need a tool like Helium 10 or Jungle Scout to do product research, but it still could be a nice place to start looking for those product opportunities. So definitely check that out. All right. I know it's quite expensive during this time of year, but is it worth increasing the budgets? Yes. I would also create like 6+ more campaigns. What's the strategy to survive in the Amazon dominated niches? Pick a product that is just unique enough. Pick the color that nobody else is selling. Make a change to the product. So if you're the only one selling bamboo marshmallow sticks at 18 inches and everybody else is at 12, obviously you're going to have an advantage. Those are the ways to strategize on that. What would the average net profit be for your clients? I understand it varies depending on category, but if you're willing to tell a client what to expect, 10 to 25% fair. I actually think that's a pretty good range, Steve. So you could talk gross profit, you could talk net profit, but you asked specifically about net profit. A 10 to 25% net profit is a really solid rate. And I'd say anywhere in the middle on that would be a really good target. Now, to be clear, most Amazon sellers are not profitable, not even a single dime in the first 6 months, just to set expectations. And the reason is because you have to put more in to get the snowball rolling, putting that boulder down the hill, so to speak, to get it going. And so you have to go really hefty on PPC. It takes longer to get your money out of Amazon. You got a 2-week waiting period with all the reserve holds. And so just realistically, 6 months plus to make a profit on Amazon. What we tell our clients, though, is that, and we typically encourage a minimum 3-month contract. We obviously want to sign a longer one with people, and we offer incentives to do that. But we typically will tell clients we averagely pay for ourselves within 90 days. It's like a hockey stick for most of our clients. First month and a half, you can barely see the trickle in most instances. Then we start to turn that corner right around day 70 to 90, and it starts to peak like this. And that's why we like to tell people we typically pay for ourselves within 90 days. Jeffrey Vallon says, if my sales are 100,000 per month on Amazon, what sales numbers should I expect if I start selling on Walmart? Brand is not new. I would say probably 3%. A lot of people say they get about 7% on Walmart. Most categories, in my opinion, it's closer to 3%. So Walmart, not an easy one to crack. It's a harder system to load into. And so if you haven't done eBay yet, I wouldn't even do Walmart. I think eBay is easier, and especially if you can do Etsy. Etsy is the easiest to launch, eBay second easiest. And most of the products that you sell on Amazon do qualify for Etsy sales, although it's more on brand to be custom, handmade, or locally made. So a standard widget item wouldn't be Etsy appropriate, but I would still attempt it because you never know, it might work. I understand that click through rates and conversion rates can be vary depending on category and other factors. But for supplements in general, can I use a benchmark for 0.3% for CTR? Absolutely. That's a really good one. I'd say anywhere from zero point 0.3 to 0.35 is what the supplements typically see. And then for conversion rate, 10 to 20%, I would. So I'm trying to remember what conversion rate in supplements is. Um, Man, a lot of our accounts have upwards of 50% conversion rates in supplements, but I'm trying to remember like what benchmark we've set. Non-category specific, I usually say 8 to 12% is average. And then like obviously with gift category, so I'm at 52% today. During the next 7 days, I'll probably still be at 52%. Come January, I'll be all the way back down to like 22%. So there's some items that are very seasonal and go up and down depending on what you're selling. We're going to stock out of our soaps. The soaps did really well this year, and we were really surprised by that. And so some of the soaps that we launched are doing really quite well. So if you want to pick these up before these stock out, we've got 3 soap variants. We got masculine, we got fruity, and then macho. Macho is the one we just launched. It's not even 7 days old, and it's done really, really well for us. So yeah, I would say all category specific for sure, but advertising anywhere from 0.35 give or take in most categories is solid. And by the way, that's 1/3 of a percentage point for those that don't know. On a regular website, 1% conversion is what you seek. So if you can pull off 10x that on Amazon, that's just proof in the pudding why Amazon's a great platform. Also, should the concept of CTR and conversion rates be different for PPC and SEO? 100% yes. Your SEO should have a higher conversion rate than PPC. Why? Because if you are ranked 23 on SEO and you're ranked 1 on PPC, you're going to spend more curiosity clicks the higher in the funnel. But if somebody's scrolling down to position 23 for your SEO, obviously their conversion rate is going to be significantly higher. Additionally, there's a lot of brand equity that you can have with SEO, whereas PPC is new to file customers most of the time. New to file or new to brand, NTB, is the field inside of the Seller Central advertising dropdown. If you go to the campaign manager and look at that, you can see that. So let me actually showcase this. So over here on my screen here, you can see in the columns, customized columns, and in here you can look for new to brand orders. So if you're curious how many of your PPC sales come from new to brand, you can just click that button, hit apply, and then you can see all those percentages. They have a bunch of NTB factoids. These have been around for at least a year now. So they're not even new. They're just not known, not generally known. Most people, when they sell on Amazon, they don't give a crap where their sales come from. They just want sales, right? But some brands, especially brands that are omni-channel, that are not just focused on Amazon, they love NTB stats. Why? Because they're going to Amazon to acquire new customers. And if you are just showing up on Amazon to buy a product you would have bought from the store or from a website, not as valuable, not as lifetime valuable as you would have been if you were new to file. And so new to file, new to brand, definitely a stat you might want to check out for that. But always consider PPC an acquisition channel. SEO is as well, but PPC is a higher cost acquisition channel. It's more immediate. It's more easily tracked. And there's always going to be some fights between SEO and PPC. But if, one of the most common questions I ever get asked is like, hey, if I'm organic position 1, should I stop spending money on ads? And absolutely don't do that. If you stop spending on ads and all of a sudden 2 weeks later, you're in like position 14, you'll understand very quickly that spending money on ads leads to organic SEO rankings. By the way, the ratio I generally put on that, for every 1 PPC sale you generate, you'll end up getting 2 or 3 SEO sales within 6 months. Pretty standard. Abdallah says, I'm launching a new candle holder that can be sold in 4 groups of keywords: candle holder, gifts, cool stuff, decor. Statistically, which group should I target first? It depends. I would love to see this ACE, and this is definitely one I want to look at. But I would say during big holiday venture locations, so Black Friday to Christmas, I would focus on gift keywords. But if we were in January, I would say focus on decor. Cool stuff. I don't think that is a category that I would generally say you will have any seasonality with. Those are just your evergreen keywords, most likely. But somebody looking for a candle holder, why would they pick yours versus somebody else's? Whatever the answer to that question is would affect how I would segment the advertising. And you really need to have a niche strategy on those keywords because the generic broad match keyword candle holder, you'll be competing against all kinds of commodity based price items that you can't win on, or at least can't make money on. Do you sell any of your brands before? What are your thoughts on selling brands? So I used to run a brand called Fine Occasion. I ended up exiting that partnership and just kind of just didn't even sell it to my partner. I just left. And so I've actually technically never sold a brand. I do have a CTO on staff that sold their brand to Amazon directly, and they made a killing. And so selling brands, it's something that we've talked about just because of the aggregators entering the space, about $13 billion. I put out a website called AmazonAggregators.com, and I've tracked it mostly out of intellectual curiosity. But we're obviously biased. We're the Amazon guys team. And so we don't want you to sell your brand. We want you to hire us and help you grow it from a bias standpoint. But for those that aren't happy, want to move on, want to switch careers, want to go launch another brand, want to be a serial entrepreneur, yeah, go ahead and exit whenever's ready for you. And my thoughts on selling a brand is right now is the worst time to do it because the economy is tanking. The best time to do it would have been last January. I think that was the peak. And that's when a bunch of stupid aggregator money were buying any brand they could get their hands on. Today, they've all wised up. They all have a specific list of what they're looking for. Multiples are not at all-time highs right now. And so I would hold on for another year or two and try and get out of the Biden economy before you try and maximize your exit. Does Amazon prefer low-priced items if the quality is okay? I think that's what you mean. So yes, obviously Amazon's a marketplace. They're always pushing low-priced items. And so just keep in mind, though, if you win on price today, you're going to lose on price tomorrow. It's inevitable that the Chinese will be able to sell your item at a lower price. It's inevitable. So you need to build a community and you need to add value from a community standpoint. Otherwise, you won't be able to build a brand. Amazon has destroyed brand equity. Here's a great case example. If I were to poll the audience right now and just ask you simply, what was the last item you bought on Amazon? And everybody put their comments into the comment section. And then I'd say, okay, what was the brand name of that item? Only 3%, generally speaking, would be able to answer that question. And so it just really depends on what you're selling and how much you can invest into that community building concept, because brands that build communities, just like we're building here. I got 55 of you guys live at the very moment, showing up and having a community conversation and trying to learn and interact with each other. That's a community, right? How many of you guys as a brand could get 55 people to show up at the exact same time just to talk, right? That's why community building is so important, right? If I was only going to win my sales, whether it's an Amazon product or my own agency, and I was trying to win based on price, there's always going to be some other agency or some other product that can undercut my value. But you need to be able to raise your prices with inflation. Some of the worst inflation numbers we've seen in over 70 years right now. I've been talking about this coming for 2 years. The federal government printed 30% of the money supply in the US dollar in the last 12 months. 30%. That means the inflation rate is 30% annually. And people don't get the math behind that. And they're like, oh, that's a scare tactic. And you're just talking hot air. But no, seriously, just logically think it out. If there's $100 in supply today, and then some idiot scumbag called the government comes in and prints another $3, then the interest rate or the inflation rate would be 3%. But our US federal government has printed 30% of the entire money supply. And then they give the free money over to the banks, and all the big elites win on those scenarios. So you got to be able to raise your prices this year. Selling low priced items, I wouldn't recommend it. I think building a community is the way to go. I've been receiving global reviews, even though our item is only sold in the US. How is that possible? Well, there isn't an ability to enable global sales of an item shipping out of the US. Additionally, there's a bunch of people that you could call them retail arbitrage drop shippers, if you will. And what happens is that, like, for example, they'll buy your item in the US and mark it up 35% and sell it in Canada. And so when that happens, you can get a review generated from those other marketplaces, and they show up in the global review column. They're not weighted as much as they are as if they were in the market that the item is being sold in, but that's generally how it happens. Additionally, people can leave a product review for an item that they haven't physically purchased. It can show up in global reviews as well, in other countries especially. Good question here coming in from Old Hickory. Do you prefer coupons or strike-through pricing, or a combination of the two? How do you decide what to use for each client? So in general, right now, I don't recommend running discounts. Coupons will cost you 60 cents a clip when somebody checks out, and they are more expensive. And so strike-through pricing, generally speaking, is my go-to. So for example, I have my Mother's Day kit right now on a $10 discount. And we previously sold it at $57 when we were running out of stock back in the Mother's Day rush. And so you'll see I have a list price strike through. To get a list price strike through, you either need to sell through Vendor Central, or you need to sell the item on Amazon, regardless of which platform, at that rate at some point. And then you'll see you get a strike through on it. Additionally, when you run sales, you can sometimes see like lowest price in 30 days, and you can see some additional cost savings. And so for all of those reasons, I prefer sales. They don't cost as much, and they don't have a budget. So there's nothing out of your pocket if they use a coupon. However, there is a charge of 60 cents every time somebody uses it. So for me, I think sales are the way to go. I don't generally recommend discounting. There are very rare cases today where discounting makes any sense, because I think everybody needs to raise their prices right now, most likely. Buyer sentiment, a little low. Economy, definitely the worst we've seen the economy in decades. And so I think you just need to be prepared for that. Also, another good reason why stocking up and buying a year's supply of goods right now makes a lot of sense, because of inflation. Anything you buy today is on discount. It's basically anything that sits in cash, it starts to evaporate in an inflation scenario. Vasil says, hey, having an IP issue. Competitor removed my selling rights to my main product. The product was patented last month, and I have proof that it was being sold for years without the patent. So, and Vasil, I think you've hired us to help work on some of your products here. Do you think we'll get reinstated to sell that item? So I don't know if the item in question is the one you hired us to help you with, but I will say this, Vasil, you can generally win these fights. If it's not a patent infringement, which is super hard to win, if it's like a copyright infringement or a trademark infringement, those are really relatively significantly easier to win. So depending on what the issue is on this, if it's patent related, very, very difficult. And having a patent attorney specifically work on that, I highly recommend that. But if it's trademark or copyright, you don't need an attorney for those. You can generally win those fights. And you generally can get those reinstated very easily just by proving it and showcasing the item's intellectual property. Is the Amazon market giving the best for low price, high sales velocity products? Yes. A lot of favorability is given to low price, high velocity items on the Amazon marketplace. How is the monthly revenue or product in Saudi Arabia? Super low, probably not even a top 15 country to sell in right now with the Amazon marketplace. What would be your best suggestion when we get out of stock? Should we close the listing, keep our ranking, or just leave it as is? It depends. Sometimes if you get a return, you can get an item and resell the item. And so I generally would not close the listing. I would raise your prices though, and try and get margin out of the item when you first go to market, or when you're stocking out rather. Brady says, really like Seller Board for tracking profits, takes into account PPC and everything else. I think most tools do take into account PPC and COGS these days, but it just depends on the dashboard. I think really with most profit tracking softwares is the data accurate? Like, do they have the right API set up to put the information in real time in under 48 hours? And second, how cool of a dashboard is it? Does it give you the right report? Those are generally what I look for. What advertising campaign structures would you recommend? I inserted the word structure there. So you need to segment every ad type. Video ads, number one, those are the hottest. Got to be doing those. Sponsored products, 80% of your budget should be going to sponsored products. Maybe float 5 or 10% of your budget over to display or sponsored brands, depending on your item, depending on your category. And then use every segmentation available. Target ASINs, target keywords, use exact, use broad, use auto, use manual, all of them, not just one. You shouldn't be subscribing to like start with one, then do the second, do the third. Don't do it that way. Have them all launch day one and let the data tell you where to put the money. Highly recommend it. Only getting organic sales, not getting any sales on ads, auto and manual keyword targeting. What should I do? Make sure the words that are in your ads are present in the copy of the listing. It could be a relevancy score issue. How much time a private label product takes to give profit in the UK for stationery and office products with a price of $12.99. Boy, your profit margin on that's going to be under $1.50 to $2 pounds, euros, whatever we got over there. And I would say, generally speaking, commodity products are faster to be profitable once you get like 50 reviews, once you've been around for a few months. I'm going to say 6 months on that one, Abdullah. What American Amazon advertising campaign would you recommend between deal voucher, prime exclusive? Prime exclusive, I think it's a little bit stronger. I would go that route. Barack says, I'm getting 5461 error when creating a new product. I tried the same barcode on another account, brand register, it worked. Can this error be fixed if I enroll brand registry? Yes, it can. We have a video on that one you might want to check out. Brand registry is crucial, 100% mandatory if you want to be successful in Amazon. Do not avoid it. I think you're fine. All right. So getting the organic sales, we did that one. You can put NA and brand name. I just think that's a terrible move. It is so hard to change the brand once you've been live. Brand registry only costs you $825 to get a trademark with My Amazon Guy. It's a no-brainer because it will give you A+ content and a bunch of other activities. Still really got to do it. All right, let's scroll down here. Any strategy to survive in an Amazon dominated niche? Yes, sell something custom and that nobody else has. Ruben says, hi, Steve. Thanks for all your help. Hope you're feeling better. I am. You can tell it in my voice here. Question regarding subscribe and save option on the detail page. This is something that comes from Amazon, or can the seller sign up for it? It's all automated today. You can add additional bonus percentages by going into Amazon and enabling those additional percentages. You cannot enable subscribe and save by itself, however, until Amazon automates it. Basically, you need like a couple hundred units per month to sell on the item before they'll even enable it for you. You also need to be in stock consistently. If you're out of stock more than a few days in a 90-day period, they'll turn subscribe and save off. Jacob says, I'm trying to create a storefront for my business, but after I hit submit, I'm getting a lot of not legible flags for my categories. Not sure how to fix this. So if you're talking the brand store specifically, you might want to have a designer go through and see if anything's blurry. See if, so for example, most of the modules are squares or rectangles. And so like a 300 by 300 or a 300 by 600 type image. And if you're trying to load something that's not perfectly square or rectangle into those pixels, so let's say you got like a 544 by 200 and you try and load that into a 300 by 300, it's going to really get blurry. So Jacob, this is one where I would just get a designer to come in and help you out with that one. Relatively cheap, very easy to find a designer, especially for a brand store. We do charge $1,000 to do a hyper professional brand store if that's of interest as well. Check us out at myamazonguy.com. Tyler says, buy box wins percentages on Seller Central dashboard fluctuating wildly. In the morning, it's different, and later in the day, it's different. What is the reason for this? So we get this question all the time. And quite frankly, we have suspicions, but no proven theories on this topic. So it could just be a data bug, and it might just be Amazon's data is just delayed and not calculating correctly. If there is a non-data bug situation, it could be because you have hijackers that show up overnight and they remove themselves by the morning, knowing that you're only going to check during the day. We have seen that from time to time. It is rare. And I would say for the amount of times I get this question and we go in and look and we're looking in the middle of the night and we don't see anybody there, we think it's more likely just a data bug. But if there is somebody selling your item overnight and then turning it off in the morning, that could explain the buy box percentage issues. How much inventory can we store in FBA as a new seller? Minimum probably 1,000 units, probably maximum 3,000, most likely. Restock limits probably are going to stick around this year with all the warehousing and logistics problems we've seen. Restock limits are not going anywhere. Keep your IPI above 450, 500 if you can muster it. But even still, with a high IPI score, restock limits are a huge pain in the butt and can be very challenging. What's the reason why keywords don't get any impressions, even though bid much higher than the maximum? This is usually a relevancy challenge. You need to add the content to your listing, make sure it's relevant. What are the best strategies of PPC for a newly launched product? Make sure it's optimized in every field, all 6 photos, a video, title, bullets, A+ content, fully live with copy and A+ content, upwards of 100 to 500 words in A+ content, highly recommended, especially product modules as well in the A+ content. And then for PPC, notice how I had all of the front end stuff mentioned before I talk PPC. There's a reason for that. And that's because you have to have all of the listing things day one. Now, it's better to do something than nothing. Better to be marketing with whatever you have today. But if you can help it, have everything ready day one. Then launch every PPC strategy, all segmentations from day one. Highly successful strategy. Highly recommend it. Amy says, hi, Steve, on my very first product about to stock out. Already raised the price, but most likely will have 2 to 5 weeks gap. Should I close the listing while waiting for stock? I wouldn't. I mean, some people are going to put returns in. You're going to see a few sales even when you're stocked out. I'm not a fan of closing listings unless I'm discontinuing it and never selling it again. Let's see. How do I know the monthly revenue of a product in Saudi Arabia? I don't know if Helium 10 even exists over there right now. I'm sure there is a tool that exists over there, but I don't know if Helium 10 does it. If anybody knows the answer to Ahmed's question, please post Saudi Arabia in the chat. Let's see. Ruben says, I've watched your video on brand registry change requests. It looks like it to be a painful process. Is there any new updates you can share here? Is buying the account entirely will help with that process. So brand name changes, generally what I start with is a template upload because they lock the attribute on the back end. So I always usually start with like an Excel file template upload. Following that, I'll do a ticket and brand registry. And then following that, I will call the catalog support team. And a combination of all of these things, sometimes taking a picture of the product packaging and uploading that to the ticket or having a manufacturer's URL link can be very beneficial. Also, registering the item with GS1 and associating a GS1 barcode. All of those things can be very beneficial to getting a brand name change. But there's no single action of that list that will make the change happen, which is why we charge $1,000 to change brand names for people. And it's one of our most popular services after trademarks and A+ content. Brand name changes, 3rd most popular service people hire my Amazon guy for, followed by SEO orders as well as number 4. So I would highly recommend that you get a trademark for the new brand and just go through that process. If you get stuck, consider hiring us, Ruben. We're very good at changing brand names, but it is extraordinarily difficult. Kyle says US DOM FBM ship. Oh, we covered that one already. We did that one. How do you optimize the sponsored brand campaigns? Best strategies, hacks, and tactics. So number 1, a video ad is considered a sponsored brand campaign. If you don't have videos up, you are crazy. Video ads are super effective. Often lower cost advertising for many products, especially if you have a Billy Mays type product. And for those that don't know who Billy Mays is, he's the ShamWow guy. This dude was, he looks like me with a bigger beard, right? And he just could sell anything on camera and just as seen on TV type products. So if you have an item that's really good on camera, just being seen, right? Like if you can show a beer glass being drank out of, you can do a lot of things with video ads that you can't do with sponsored product ads. So that's the number 1 thing. Number 2, make sure you're advertising on your own brand name because that's a defensive measure that will save you cash. If somebody else is bidding on your brand, you might see them leave you and buy somebody else's product. And then following that, anything else is generally you want to push a custom image for your brand headline, load something unique that's bigger than your standard logo. That's the number 1 tip I'll give on that front. And then target your competitor brands and better. And sometimes the generic keywords don't do as well. So if you were selling a tweezer and you typed in tweezer for a sponsored brand headline ad, that's going to do a lot weaker than if you did steel best tweezer in the world type of keywords. So longer tail keywords do a lot better with brand headline ads, in my opinion, because they're so much higher in the funnel that they're literally the top ad at the top of the listing. Getting only organic sales, auto and manual cam. So again, relevancy question, Krishan. I launched my product on Amazon Europe. It shows different brand name than mine. I can't change the brand name. What should I do? Should I try and merge the listings to keep reviews? So did you load a UPC code or did you try and attach it to the ASIN? Make sure the UPC is loaded. You might have a hijacker issue here, especially if you don't have a trademark. You got to have trademarks to prevent hijacker issues. Let's see. Do you help get brands reviews? We don't really focus on review generation. It's too difficult. Can't game it anymore. Product inserts can't even ask for reviews. They might even ask you to remove your inventory out of FBA if you ask for a review. So if you're hearing this for the first time and you ask for reviews in your product inserts, stop that practice immediately before Amazon catches on, because they will ask you to remove your inventory straight out of FBA, costing you thousands of dollars. Tyler says, I've got 6 products in the same niche, but they're not variations. Their keywords are the same. Should I target those 6 products in one campaign as they share the same keywords, or do I have to create separately? This is a case-by-case basis. So typically, the larger the account, the more sales, the more segmentation would make sense. If you're just a newer seller or a lower velocity seller, I think you can get away with putting the 6 products in the same campaign. But here is your challenge. 2 or 1 of those products will get 80% of the campaign budget. Can you live with that? If not, you're better off setting up segmented campaigns. More work, but more segmentation means more control. And then you can force the campaign budgets to be spent evenly across the products. Now, maybe you're okay with 1 or 2 items being the powerhouse sellers, but Amazon's going to automatically filter those based on that. Do you have a job or internship for Amazon account, or financial analysis? We always love hiring analysts. I don't think we have an actual job title of analyst in the company, but we definitely need some. And if you are an analyst, send your resume to jobs at My Amazon Guy. Put in the subject line analyst. So that way, and by the way, I read every one of those emails myself, but I'm not the one that will reply to them. And we always would love. We love hiring. We're always hiring, and that's because we want to make a $50 million company here in the next 9 years. Any tips for Amazon dominant niches? How to survive in it? I think we covered that one. Krishan, you're kind of spamming me here, man. Don't type the same question a bazillion times. I have one product that is ranked on page 1, and I have another listing with variations that are ranked lower. Is it a good strategy to add the product ranked page 1 to that variation listing? Oof, I got to read this one twice. One product ranked on page 1, another listing with variations that are ranked lower. Is a good strategy to combine them. I'm pro parentage in general. Generally speaking, I would not put 2 powerhouse listings together. Lots of exceptions apply. Flavor, scent, color, could be a lot of reasons why you want to parent them together despite that. But in general, if you parent a weaker listing with a bigger listing, the weaker listing will catch up and no damage will be done to the higher velocity listing. There's exceptions to there's a lot of parentage theory to talk through here. An exception could be that the parentage type requires an additional click or a drop down. So if you're selling a clothing item, you have to select that size before you can add to cart. There could be reasons why you wouldn't want to do that. Let's say you're selling a hula hoop that has 2 weights on it, and for whatever reason in your parentage, they require you to make an extra checkbox or an extra selection that could hurt your conversion rate. And so that's a good use case for separating out the items. That is a real world example, by the way. I did a coaching call on that yesterday with a longtime My Amazon Guy fan. So parentage theory, there's a lot of variables, but in general, I would say 65% chance you should keep things parented together whenever possible. But don't parent 2 items that are good on their own, because you lose keyword rankings because they can only show 1 product out of a parentage in the search results. Again, a lot of parentage theory to talk about. That one's too complicated to go into much more detail. We have about 10 videos on parentages. Check out that playlist. What would be you suggest if we go out of stock? Should we close the listing? Nope. You want to keep the listing open because you're going to be able to resell a returned item. How to do keyword research in KSA. I don't know what KSA is. I heard somewhere that we have to launch 3 or 4 products together in order to get profit in KSA. Is that true? So I don't know what the acronym KSA stands for, but what I will say is, in general, every 3 items that I launch, 1 does exceptional, 1 will break even, and then 1 will fall flat. And so we generally only reorder 33% of our products. There are exceptions to that. Andrew says, hey, Steven, has your position on GS1 versus third-party barcodes changed since you last spoke about it in April? Yes, it has. We've been hired in the last 30 days to change thousands of listings barcodes over to GS1. They are cracking down on it. It is a ticking time bomb. If you haven't purchased UPC codes from GS1 and you haven't got a notice from Amazon, I can almost guarantee that sometime in the next 90 days, you're going to get a notice. And one client that hired us, they had 114 listings that were removed because they didn't have authentic GS1 barcodes. So it can be very damaging to your brand right now. So I'd say the risk on this has spiked, especially in the last 45 days with the amount of people that have hired us to fix those issues. So back in April, I said, wait and see, be reactive. And today my position is, I will be proactive on this one, especially if you're in a category that you've seen other people get cracked down on. Make the changes before it becomes a problem. What affects the conversion rate? So friction or anxiety, anything that causes a friction of an item to not have the add to cart button, for example, you got to select that size, just like we talked about with a hula hoop, before somebody actually purchases. That's an item of friction that affects the conversion rate. Main thing that affects conversion rate is the main photo. Secondary photos, number 2, price, number 3, title 4, bullets 5, A+ content 6, in that order, generally speaking. And so those things, what you do to get your conversion rate up is you optimize those. You run A/B tests, make sure you have all that done. All right, so let's go. I'm gonna put Mr. Spammer in timeout here. All right, Nico, $10 donation. Appreciate the donation, Nico. Let's see if I can find your question. Feel free to repost yours, Nico. I don't see it. But thank you for your donation today. We really appreciate it. Not to brag, but I think you said this guy's back in August 2020. Hey, it's the only thing I can say I was right about since hiring you guys. So Joe over at Flying Swine has a great product. I'm a really big fan of his apple bourbon rub. We reorder it all the time and throw it on our meats. And so I would say thank you for that endorsement. We've had a great, phenomenal working relationship growing Flying Swine seasonings, and it's hard to sell on Amazon, isn't it, Joe? But we try and make it as easy as possible. Emily, also thank you for your $10 donation. Some of my inventory has been stranded for months for merchant fulfilled. DG info required. I've asked for help for months. I've not been successful. I sell clothing. Any way I can fix this? So stranded items, there's like 17 reasons an item can strand on Amazon. Sometimes it's because of a data mismatch. Other times it's because the SKU bugs. And so, Emily, if you're having a hard time with a stranded event and it's been months to fix it, you need to hire us for a coaching call. We'll probably fix it same day for you. Really strong chance if you hire Saban. $150 for an hour coaching session with Saban. They'll come in and troubleshoot that. I would highly encourage it. But if you decide not to do that, here's some things I would try. Number 1, I would delete the product and relist it via template upload. That has a really strong opportunity to fix it. If that doesn't fix it, the second thing I would test is delete the product again, but this time manually reload it from the stranded page and switch the SKU. And you could just literally add a hyphen new suffix at the end of the SKU. But anything that you do to load the product new under a new SKU name, I would highly encourage it. I think that would be very, very beneficial because sometimes it's the SKU that is bugged and causing the stranded event. There are like 15 other events that could cause a stranding, but from my experience, strandings that last over a longer time period are generally SKU bug. That's the top number 1 reason. If your listing's yanked or another problem, that could be a challenge as well. Joe, I now understand the context of what you were saying here. Joe bought GS1 barcodes and saved himself a lot of headaches. You are correct. I agree with Joe. I will concede that. However, I told everybody to be reactive because we simply get a lot of posturing from Amazon. We never know which posturing will result in consequences. So whenever in doubt, I do tend to be reactive and not proactive on some of their things. Andrew also says, given the GS1 issue, what is the best way to fix my old non-GS1 issues? Create variations where the GS1s emerge, get a prefix, and contact support, hire you. So in general, the first step is to purchase the GS1 barcodes. Then you can go with your GS1 certificate, file tickets, ask them to associate the UPC to the listing. That's the best practice. It sounds straightforward. Unfortunately, it's not. It requires massive amounts of ticketing. This is something that we can help out with, and it does require a lot of communication going back and forth with Amazon. All right, so I've got a few more minutes in my lungs here. Let's go through and see. Now, I want to make sure I didn't miss any member questions, so I'm going to scroll up here for some member questions. If my product is way better at video, not sponsored product, how much should be in video ads compared to sponsored products, if any? Well, this is an interesting question because I'm not sure why you wouldn't already know the answer to this. If video ads perform better, put unlimited budget behind video ads. Like it should be an obvious one. Anything that performs better, let the data dictate it. It's okay if 80% of your budget is in video. If video performs 5 times better than sponsored product, you should infinitely scale that segmentation. This is why whenever I talk about ad strategies, I always say do all of them, then let the data tell you which ones to optimize further and put more budgets. Now, obviously, put the least amount of money in display, put the least amount of money in sponsored brand, non-video ads, because they're higher in the funnel. We know that. No amount of testing is going to change that. We know that they have a higher A cost. But in general, video versus sponsored products, all bets are off. Some keywords are going to do better than others. So let the data dictate that one. Ravi says, if 3 sellers are selling a branded product, why do they have different numbers of reviews? Since they're selling the same product, shouldn't the number of reviews be the same? So if this is the same ASIN, yes, there would not be a difference in reviews if it's the same ASIN. But if it's a separate ASIN, they made a duplicate ASIN, which is against terms and services, or they had another problem that required maybe it's a different marketplace item. There could be different ASINs with different reviews, but in general, should not have any differences between that. There was a recent MAG YouTube video that showed a PDF with formulas. Where can I find this PDF? So we did load the PDF to our website, which is currently offline right now, but we do have a link to that, and I will post the link to that for you and help you out to find that. And these formulas basically are all the formulas that Amazon uses. So here is the video in question. Francisco did the video since I didn't have a voice earlier. And then in the top comment, you can see right here down. I'll put a like on my own comment here. Is that all right? But I pinned this one at the top. Here is the link. It is currently offline. Check back here. Let's see. Let me click on it. And yep, we're still having challenges with our maintenance of our website, but putting the link in here. You can click that link to download all of the formulas that Amazon uses to sell. Everything from your ODR to your IPI to FBA to NCX. We have all those formulas documented all in a single PDF. You can download that and you can replicate it yourself. So that is the My Amazon Guy show today. I really had a great time talking to all of you. If you like today's show and just want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, just put a little thanks in the chat. Just say, thank you, I learned something new today, or thank you, that was really cool that you talked about all of the different topics we talked about, parentage theory, advertising segmentation, a lot of good topics we covered today. I'll put the next 30 seconds. I'll put you up on screen here if you just want to say thank you. We really appreciate all of your feedback, and it helps us out with the YouTube algorithm to generate comments. We do this show every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. My name is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. The next 2 shows are going to be on Christmas Eve and on New Year's Eve. I expect a little bit lower attendance. I'm going to actually take some time off, and Jason Master Mateo will be hosting the next 2 shows. So this will be my last show for 2021, but coming up in 2022, I'll be right back in the saddle. Got a bunch of thank yous coming in. Thank you so much. Flying Swine says thank you. Abdallah, love from Pakistan. Ahmed says thanks. Thanks, buddy, coming from Amy. And Robbie says thank you. This was very useful. You guys all have a great weekend and enjoy your holidays. Merry Christmas and have a happy new year. We'll see you guys later.